watching. If you're watching after the live, you're just gonna have to wait a little bit or fast forward a little bit. I mean, to get to the good parts. But yeah, we're gonna wait a little bit, let some people hop on, doing the old pre-lift live. Gonna have some training today. It's a heavy day, heavy pronation, riser, elbow flexor. Gonna have some teammates over. I think Mike, Brian, and Sailor are coming over. But it's gonna be a good day. I know the Mr. and Mrs. America competition happened yesterday. There were some super matches. There were some tournaments. I don't know the outcomes, but we'll probably talk about that later. But yeah, we're just gonna wait a little bit, let some more people hop on before we start diving in. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. So it's a little early. What time is it? It's 7:41. Some people will hop on soon, probably. Let's see. We can talk about a whole bunch of stuff. Well, you know what I forgot to talk about? The first ever Dungeon Super Series. There was 9 incredible matches. If you missed it in person, there's still a chance to get it. Watch it on the pay-per-view on Stone TV under memberships, and then you'll be able to watch the first ever Dungeon Super Series. So Tom says hi. What's up, Tom? Hydra says all the way love from India. What's up, Hydra? Thanks for watching. Jesse says, can you check your sound? Something you can't hear me or something? I mean, I'm just using my phone. But usually sounds pretty good. Let's see. How to says hello from North Korea. Well, thanks for watching all the way from North Korea. I thought you guys didn't have social media stuff, but maybe I'm wrong. What's up, colonizer? He says, where are you from? I'm from the United States. How about yourself? We got some people from India, even from North Korea. That's the first. How to says I can hear him fine. How to says I have a VPN. Not allowed. Oh, that stinks, but I'm glad you're watching. I appreciate you watching. Let's see. So we got some new people from the chat. If you guys don't know, this is an arm wrestling channel, even powerlifting, gym stuff. But I used to be a powerlifter, but now I'm an arm wrestler. So we talk about arm wrestling stuff. So if you guys have any arm wrestling questions, let me know. Colonizer says he's from Iceland. All right, very nice. I think you're the first guy in the chat from Iceland. We got 2 new ones. Mad Acoustic says Devin is the man. He's definitely good. That's funny. So RA says, yo, big man, I was just watching a crow eat ticks off a kangaroo. Give me a reason to watch you and not go back. Well, that's tricky, man. That's tricky. That's some tough competition. But tell you what, all you have to do is read the chats. The chats get pretty fun. But also, we're talking about arm wrestling stuff. Gizmo says Devin is the best arm wrestler. Definitely could be strongly debated that that's true. But I think Levon is the best arm wrestler right now. But that being said, I think Devin is number 2, in my opinion, only behind Levon. Jesse says, can you open a soda can with one hand? Question mark, your grip. Yeah, maybe. Those soda cans come with those little openers on the top. These things. You know what I mean? So you just use one hand, open them up, and you're good. All right. Uncle Rhino says King Tut. All right. Appreciate that. Oh, we got somebody from Israel. What's up, man? Atlas, what's up, man? Oh, Josh is in the chat. He says you can start now. Oh, good. We were waiting for you. Gizmo says I can hammer curl 150. Very nice. Dan Minnow says boy can lift and stop a Yeti and Bigfoot riding in a dually truck. There's only one way to find out. I think those guys had a falling out. I don't think they hang out anymore. Josh says Levon because he proved himself over and over again. Yeah, I definitely agree. I definitely think he's number 1. And I think Levon is so strong that his strength overshadows his technique. I think Levon is a lot smarter than people think. Jesse says, meant to crush. I don't know. I never tried to do those. That soda can when they rip the can off the top, but that'd be an interesting video. Man Acoustic says the best both for arm wrestling height, technique, and his psychological abilities. How old is Devin now? He's probably 50. He's probably 50 or 51 if I'm guessing. Colonizer says just be racist and have a good day. Yeah, have some you could have some comedy, there's some good jokes out there. Everyone likes a little racist joke once in a while. RA says, is Larry legit strong or just good for views? Both. he's super strong and he brings in lots of views. So it'd definitely be good if he comes back into arm wrestling, but I think he's going to focus on powerlifting and bodybuilding for now. But maybe I'm wrong. You know, last time I talked to, I always say Adam West, but it's Adam Silvers. His I don't know if he's still his manager or not. Last time I talked to him, he said Larry has no interest in arm wrestling until way later down the road. Matt Cusick says, in his prime, untouchable. Devin is the best ever, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, like I said before, that's definitely that could definitely be a strongly debatable, that could definitely be strongly debated. But I think Devin might be in terms of strength, he might be at the prime right now. You know, and I think as of right now, I think Levon still beats him. But Matt Acoustic says, how old is Levon? I don't think he's that old. Maybe 35, 36, maybe. So how to says, do most arm wrestlers take growth hormone? I have no idea. I would say majority of people don't. I would think, but I could be wrong. I would think that the majority of people don't. Josh says he's brilliant. Yeah, Levon is pretty smart. Even if he doesn't look like it, he's pretty smart. Colonizer says, quit lying about being in North Korea, buddy. There's no VPN servers in North Korea anyway. You never know. You never know. Prasad says, bro, send me $1. I think you should send me $1. But maybe we could send, trade dollars, Oh, what's up, Sailor? Says just stopping in for a minute before we head out your way. Oh, that's what I'm talking about. What time is it? Almost 8. Training starts at 9. So probably, I'll be on there for a little bit, but I'll have to leave to can't miss their own training. Josh said I had a front row seat when Jerry pulled him, and as soon as I saw Levon take a low hand to block Jerry's flop, it was when I knew he's extremely intelligent. Yeah, definitely. I had an even closer view than you did. I don't know if you remember, but I was in Jerry's corner, or one of the guys in the corner, and I was surprised that and Levon's super strong, but I was pulling with Jerry. I was surprised that Levon was able to control him like that, because Jerry was ridiculously strong. But yeah, that was definitely an experience. Josh says I would say more peptides than anything. You never know. Maybe. What's up, Brian? Matt Acoustic says, youth in general always wins. That's a 15-year difference. Take Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul. A 28-year-old Mike Tyson would kill JP. Yeah, most sports. In most sports, definitely that's true. Especially like boxing and other um, you know MMA sports, football, stuff like that. Usually the youth is a big advantage. But in arm wrestling is a very unique sport where sometimes you need, you know, 10, 20, 30 years to evolve your body through training to develop that type of strength. How to says, I've noticed many arm wrestlers are strongest at 45 plus. Um, yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Arm wrestling is a unique sport. I mean, youth and speed is definitely an advantage. But in arm wrestling, it's you could still continue to get better and better and better. Up until late 50s, maybe even older. Look at Todd Hutchings. He's got to be late 50s if I'm not mistaken. John Brzenk, is another guy who was even he had the back surgery and stuff, but other than that, he was 60, still pulling with the top of the guys. How to says, imagine how much better Levon will become with the little smiley face with the head blowing off. That is very interesting. That's definitely an interesting thought. Brian Jones says, never felt Chief in his prime, but he just seems to keep getting stronger. Yeah, I wish I could have pulled Chief in his prime too, just to feel it, because we're in the same boat. We can only right now we only have the stories and videos. Yeah, but Chief is still no joke, but I think let's see, how do I say this? Yeah, I don't even know how I'm gonna go say what I was gonna say, without it sounding not the way I want to say it. But Chief is almost 70 now. He's got to be, what is he, 67, 68? I also do think the weight classes matter too with that. You know what I mean? I feel like it's with the super heavyweights. I feel like it's kind of a different sport. Like you have to push the limits a lot more in the super heavyweights with horsepower and stuff. You know. Let's see. Brian Johnson, what's up, man? Says power is the last to leave. I'm 56 and ripping guys 20 years younger. And he says, good morning, Earthlings. Oh, that's good to hear. Gotta keep those young guns in check. Brian Jones is probably smarter now, though. Wisdom and table IQ. Yeah, definitely. It's definitely smarter. I mean, even another thing that makes me think of, like, even if Chief isn't as fast as he once was, his timing is what is better, so he still feels just as fast. You know what I mean? So there's things you could do, to still be explosive. Carolyn Looms, good morning, Nick, and everyone. Good morning, Carolyn. Thanks for watching. Ryan Johnson says, powering up. I dig the Chief. Everyone digs the Chief. That's why he's the High Chief. So, Mad Acoustic says, injuries and overall use takes its toll at 50 versus 35, and supplements can definitely help. Agree, it's a very specific sport. Pronation muscle The apparatus equipment is very unique. Yeah, definitely. Plus the type of stress. There's a lot of unique stress. Like when you're lifting weights, there's compression, maybe shear force, but mostly compression stress. Arm wrestling is spiral twist. It's very unique pressure on the tendons and bones. So it takes time to get those really strong. Brian Johnson says weight classes are great. They definitely have them for a reason. Kalen says, hail the High Chief. Nick, how was the dungeon yesterday? That's a good question. Dungeon was actually it was a good turnout. I got some good training in. Lately, it's been a little tough to get training in, just because I have quite a bit of a size advantage with most of our teammates in Connecticut. But it still was great training. Got lots of pulls in. I think everyone got some good training in yesterday. It was almost a full house. We had quite a bit of people. Josh says, yeah, mass moves mass. 195 pounds. And even a new super feels extremely strong for just starting. Yeah, a lot of times in arm wrestling, it can go either way. Sometimes the size helps, and sometimes it doesn't. But when it helps, it really helps. Brian Johnson says Crazy George is another good example. He definitely is. Chief, actually, a fun fact for you: Crazy George and the High Chief had a arm wrestling match that was like, I think it was something crazy, like 15, maybe 30 minutes, one match, like something ridiculous. I'm about to ask Chief. It was something ridiculous, like 15 to 30 minutes, one match. But yeah, Crazy George is another guy, 70 plus probably, super strong. Josh is not saying I can't handle it, but I pulled enough to know a bigger guy is more than likely strong. Definitely true. Sometimes, pulling those new strong guys, you don't really want to pin them because you're kind of afraid of, especially if they're real, they don't want to be pinned, don't want to, hurt anybody. So I feel like, you guys would probably agree, but the most risky person to get injured is a super strong first timer. I feel like that's the most high risk for injury. Like if a bodybuilder, a super strong bodybuilder comes to practice, they're probably, a lot higher risk in injury versus like if, like say if someone works in computers all day, they come in, because that bodybuilder is going to be strong enough to hurt himself versus that computer guy might not be strong enough to hurt himself, if that makes sense. Because in arm wrestling, a lot of times when you hurt something, it's because you do something you shouldn't have done, or you just were stubborn. Matt Cusick says, have a great day, dude. Appreciate that. You too, man. Brian says, eat smart, break the fast. Breakfast. I think that's supposed to mean protein. That's what I'm talking about. Sazeep says, how important is it to have strong legs for arm wrestling? I think it's an it's important for like general. Well, the main thing I would say is the hit, being able to transition smoothly and fast. You know, and then driving. That's what your legs are made for. But I would say, secondary to that, I've known two people that have torn. One guy tore his meniscus. One guy tore his quad tendon. So he tore the whole, that big tendon on your kneecap or above your kneecap. He tore that completely off arm wrestling. So there's a lot of twists. So like even if I don't train legs super heavy anymore, but I still train them just to keep them strong, keep them so you don't want to injure your leg arm wrestling, because then you got to explain that to everybody and they think you're crazy. But I would say, yeah, definitely legs help. Not as much as a strong hand, but I don't think it's going to hurt you to have strong legs. But for instance, like say if you only have a limited amount of time to train, if you're an arm wrestler and the legs take away from the arms, maybe it might not be worth it. But but yeah, it's definitely not going to hurt. Kaylin says awesome. She must be talking about the Chief and the George match. That was 30 minutes or something. So Mad Acoustic says he has two questions. First one says, how tall are you? Next one is, what's your weight? So I think he's trying to figure out my BMI. It might, if you're trying to figure out the BMI, it might be a little high. But depending on, so I'm like depending on the tape measure, I'm like 6 foot, 6'1". But like on those, if I ever do the online dating things, I put 6'3", 6'4", sometimes 6'5". But I'm like 6 foot, 6'1" maybe. My body weight is probably 320 probably. But I haven't been on a scale in a little bit, but it's probably 320. Could be 330. Could be 330. Brian says, just to remind the universe, I'm coming for the golden turtle at the 154-pound class. Just saying, LOL. Oh, that's good. I'm glad you're gonna make it. It's gonna be a great time. Brian says, I know it's a lofty goal. Maybe lofty. LOL, but oh yes, it's mine. My Everest. No, I think it's a great goal, man. I think it's an awesome goal. I think it's a challenging goal, but I do think it's doable. And remember, there's only one place on Earth to get a golden turtle. That is the Turtle Man Classic in Connecticut. So we just did the one. We just had the second annual one about a month ago. It's going to be about 10 months, 11 months until the next one. But we are planning more tournaments. But the other tournaments we do will not have the golden turtles, because the golden turtles are exclusively for the Turtle Man Classic. And when we have a date and location, I'll definitely I'll post it on Facebook. It'll be all over YouTube. Check the time. Kaylin says, Nick, what happened to the 450-pound guy you practiced with at the Connecticut Armbenders when you first began? You talked about him yesterday. Oh, so his name was Big Mike Homewood. So thank you for bringing that up. So he was, when I first started training, I got real lucky with training partners. Because I was at first, I started training with, Ron Armini, all those guys at the Connecticut Armbenders. And then, about 6 months in, Mike was taking a break. He came back to practice, and I think he had an injury, so I was able to beat. I think we were 50-50 left. We'd go back and forth, but I don't think in practice. I maybe pinned him once, maybe twice. But yeah, he was a great puller. Unfortunately, he passed away during COVID. But yeah, there's a lot of potential. He never really. I don't think he ever hit his full potential in the sport. He's big hand, big arm. He moved pretty well for a 450-pound guy. I think the highest he ever ranked, when he competed in the WL, he was ranked 4th behind Jerry Caderet, Devin Lorette, and Michael Todd. So, the only guys ahead of him at that time was those 3 guys. But yeah, he was a good guy, Actually, and then I don't know if I said this or not yesterday, but I ended up I don't remember exactly what it was. It was probably one of the tendons in the elbow, one of those pitcher tendons, the UCL probably. I popped something pulling them on my left arm early. Yeah, if you want to go see some old school arm, well, not super old school, but still old school, check out Mike Homewood. There's a match of him pulling Tim Breslin, actually. I think he was pretty newer, I think, because that match was before me, before I was in the sport. But yeah, that's Mike Homewood, Great guy, great puller. Brian Jones says Tim had a crazy match with George too. He told the story at Dungeon one time. Oh, I never heard about that one. Brian Jones says they just don't want to lose. LOL. Yeah, they definitely don't. Definitely don't. Josh says I never pin against a new guy, never unless he asks, and it's extremely controlled. Or they piss you off or something. Forgot that. Brian Johnson says safety first. No link head rules. Check the ego is a good motto. Definitely is. Brian says gotta go. Peace out, man. Thanks for joining. Zeep says, man, that's scary, tearing legs muscles by arm wrestling. Yeah, it definitely is. Definitely is. Josh says, I can print a golden turtle, LOL. I tell you what, man, you could print all the golden turtles you want, but they won't be real. They'll just be knockoffs. Unless you're trying to help us plan for next year, then we could definitely use your help. And forget what I just said before. So 56 is, will you arm wrestle with me? You got to come to practice, man. You got to come to practice. Bruno says, good morning from Brazil, friends. Hey, what's up, Bruno? Thanks for watching. Carolyn says, oh no, I'm so sorry to hear that. COVID sucked. Yeah, it definitely sucked, But I appreciate that, Carolyn. Carolyn says, Mike Homewood, thanks for sharing his story, Nick. Yeah, definitely. It's a good story. He was a good athlete because I don't know if he played arena football or is it semi-pro. I think it was arena football. But that's why his left arm was all smashed up. Josh says, don't forget to smash that thumbs up button. Definitely true. Definitely hit that thumbs up button. Definitely appreciate that. So Red Green Turtle says, are you a wrestler? I'm an arm wrestler. So we tell you what, if you like arm wrestling, red, green, turtle, you picked the right spot. Talk about arm wrestling stuff. Josh says, for you, buddy, LOL. Jeez. Oh, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So, scientist says calories and calories out. All right. That's definitely something. Carolyn says, Nick, the idea of the kerosene heater as supplemental heat you had was a great idea. Those things throw out some clean heat. Yeah, I think we'll get something like that. A little kerosene heater or something. Because it just to I mean, if you've never been to the dungeon in the winter, I mean, it's got the big wood stove, but I mean, if you're mostly for spectators, if you're just sitting watching, the cold might really sneak up on you. Josh says there are things better than those old heaters. LOL. Like what? Like what? I mean, I'm sure there's a whole bunch of stuff. Red Green Turtle says, my wrists are 4 inches around. Would it snap if I arm wrestle? No, you should be alright. You should be alright. Just be smart with it. Josh says, I'll explain Tuesday at our collab. LOL. That's a good idea. It probably will be easier to communicate in person. Yeah, that would be cool. That would be cool. Galen says, Josh, the round kerosene new heater that looks like a garlic are cheap and quick and easy. That's good. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for cheap, quick, and easy. Maybe even kind of safe. We don't want to blow anybody up. So let's see. Galen says, right, Nick, and safe. Yeah, What I mean, if it's one thing we could do is, we could always, tell the people we like to leave real quick, and then leave the people we don't like behind, and then let the thing explode. That's hypothetical. Or maybe the people that pay will warn them that the heater's going to self-destruct. The people that don't pay for the tickets, they'll have to learn the hard way. Josh says, I did design HVAC systems. Oh, that's good. That's good. Maybe I'll even in the labyrinth. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but the place where I train at, there's no heater in the winter, so it gets really cold. I said this story before, but this is actually one of my favorite stories. It's very simple, but when I first started lifting in the labyrinth, I had this thermometer. It was a mercury thermometer. It went down to like -20 and it went up to 120 or something like that. I'm working out in the winter and I'm freezing. I'm trying to figure out like why it's so cold. And I look at the thermometer and it says 40 degrees. So I'm like, all right, it's not that cold. So I guess I'm just being a baby. It's not that cold. It's only 40 degrees. And then I do the workout. I get about halfway through and I have a cup of water. I go to drink the cup of water and the whole entire water was frozen solid. And it was at that moment I realized that the mercury thermometers have a limit to how much the fluid can shrink. You know what I mean? And that limit is 40 degrees. Carolyn says HVAC can't go wrong. It's all I used in my house. I 30 BTU. My front door are all I need. 2-story house, but it's me and the cats. That's funny. That was not the comment I just read. I read a different comment. Josh says Resnor hanging heater. Is that infrared heater? So I was looking at those infrared heaters, those hanging infrared heaters. Is that electric? That sounds like an electric heater. Check the time. So guys, I'm probably gonna hang out for another 10 minutes, something like that. Josh says no. Google it. I installed a bunch, gas or electric. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I'll check it out. Josh says, I'll shoot you a text pic. Oh, I appreciate that. That'll definitely help me remember. I tend to not have the best memory. So that will definitely help. I appreciate that. Also, too, Tuesday is going to be a big day for filming. There might be a lot of live videos. There's definitely going to be a lot of filming. But Josh is going to come up Tuesday. I'm going to do a whole bunch of film and, stuff like that. So if there's anything you guys want to see, in particular, let me know. Any ideas, stuff like that. If there's any topics you guys want us to talk about, send the topics over. Let's see. So Tuesday is going to be for training. In the morning, it's going to be wrist flexion. And in the evening, it's going to be the Tuesday guys are going to come over. But it's going to be good. It's going to be good. Oh, Josh is on it. He's almost, he's got his finger right over that timeout button. He's almost pressing it. He's right there. He's almost going to press that timeout button. Hand control. It says 2-hand training, ? I think it's a good tool. I think you have to know how to do it. I think there's also anytime someone overloads what they can naturally do. So like if someone puts a band on, if someone does 2 arms or any other thing, the bully strap, I think the risk of injury goes up for that person. You know, so you have to keep that in mind. I think that person doing that has to keep it in mind, or at least know the risk is higher, because now there's more horsepower than, there's more power going through their bones and stuff than what they're normally what they can normally generate. When I first started off, I tried two-hand training early on. And you have to pick the people you do it with, right? Because if someone's using two hands, they can, if they can really hurt you. Well, they can hurt you too, but you can hurt them, depending on the person. But I think it depends on how you do it. It could be good, could be bad. There can be carryover, or there can be overconfidence. You know what I mean? It depends on how you do it. Carolyn says, "Way to go, Nick. How about some table training? 2 new people, different strengths like static hold, etc. Some training maneuvers on the table for 2 newbies. Be a great video, Nick. Day 1 and to warm up." So maybe let me read that again, because how about some table training? 2 new people, different strengths like static hold, etc. Some training maneuvers on the table for 2 newbies. Okay, I see what you're saying. And then she says, and conditioning. Yeah, we could do something like that. We could definitely do something like that. Some positions for new people to train. Statics and stuff like that. Are you talking about statics with weights, or statics on the table? I think you mean weights, but maybe you talk about the table. Corcus says, "Hello from Greece, Athens." All right, what's up, man? I think you're the first person from Greece in the chat. Galen says, "Nick, I mean a table practice for lat, drag, back pressure, and other useful table 2-person grip up exercises." Okay, yeah, we could. I could definitely do something like that. Certain moves. The lat drag is a good move. It could be used with many other different things. You could do it with a top roll. You could do it with a hook. You could even do it with a press. Hand control says, "No big egos allowed. Gotta be careful." Yeah, egos are they're tricky. So RA says, "Has anyone forgotten about Matt Mask? ? Crazy Horse or Crazy Train or something?" Crazy Horse, the Wild Horse. I think it's the Wild Horse. I think. But yeah, Matt Mask. I don't think people forgot about him. He's when I first started, he was one of my favorite arm wrestlers to watch. Very fun to watch. I like the style. I like that top roll style. It's very crisp. But yeah, he's doing good, man. He's doing good. Kaylin says, "Thanks, Nick. That would be wonderful." Yeah, definitely. Josh says to RA, "How on earth could we forget Matt Mask? He's awesome, brother. One of my favorites." Definitely one of my favorites too. Matt, hand control says, "Mask is a wild horse." Definitely is. Kaylee says, "Statics on the table." Nick, yes. Okay, we can definitely do something like that. I think statics are good for recovery, on the table. So maybe certain positions. Breaker 3 says, "Hello from Ireland." Hey, what's up? What's up, Breaker? I think you're the first person from Ireland in the chat. Check the time again. Alright, guys. I'm going to hop off in about 60 seconds. If you guys have any final questions, let me know. I'm going to finish by saying this. I said in the beginning, I'll say it again. Get the pay-per-view on this channel, Stone TV. It's the first ever Dungeon Super Series. There's 9 incredible arm wrestling matches. It's under memberships on this channel. Some people with their phones, depending on the software, don't have the software for memberships. So if you don't see memberships on your YouTube, you're going to have to use a desktop or a laptop. Josh says, hit that thumbs up before we end. Definitely hit that thumbs up. That'd be great, guys. Thank you. Hand Control says, Nick, who is your next opponent and when? I don't have anything locked in. But right now it's looking like it's going to be at the second Dungeon Super Series, which will be a pay-per-view, or you can watch in person, but nothing locked in. But we're working on it. We're definitely working on it. But if you have any recommendations, I'd be happy to hear them. Even if they, you can shoot me a message on Facebook or Instagram. Nicholas Stone, Facebook, Instagram _Team Stone 777. Carolyn says, wonderful. Hope everyone has a great day. Let's like and share. Nick's videos are out, friends. I definitely appreciate that. That's awesome. Thank you. Josh says, thanks for all the great questions, everyone. Definitely. Kaylin says, wonderful live stream, Nick. Thanks for all you do. No, I appreciate that. I definitely appreciate that. It's fun. It's having a good time. Hand Control says, Bresnan. I don't think we're going to have the budget for Bresnan. To get Bresnan a match is going to be about $3,000 for his cost for his match, his show fee, and travel and stay. It's going to be about $3,000. I tried to get him for the first one, but we just didn't have the budget for that match. But that's a tricky thing, I mean, I'd definitely love to pull Tim in a match, but we just don't have the budget right now. Carolyn says, Dungeon Super Series is where it's at. It definitely is. And I think on that, we'll leave it on a high note. Thank you, everyone, for watching. It was fun. Had some good time hanging out. And we will see you next time, guys.